One thing that a lot of folks ask us is, how do you get to Mexico before retiring without retiring early? So how do you make money in Mexico, or US money, while living in Mexico? And that's what we're going to be talking about in this video. So I have gotten together a group of people who all happen to have one thing in common, that is YouTube channels.
There's a lot of this.
What should I mention?
Mention cats.
But they're not going to be talking about their YouTube channels. They're going to be talking more about what it is they do to make money so that they can support themselves while living in Mexico. So like all smart married men, I am going to start with interviewing my wife first.
I'm an environmental attorney and may not be widely known, but 90% of attorneys never step foot in a courtroom. It's a lot of just in front of a computer. And so I've been really intentional with my jobs, and for the last 10 years my jobs have been pretty flexible in location. And currently what I'm doing is 100% remote. I'm really lucky in that my boss doesn't care if I'm in the country or out of the country, as long as I'm near a major airport, so I can get to important meetings if I need to. I have good internet connection, so I am constantly online, and you know, with the pandemic, it seems like so many people have moved to online meetings. So it's worked out really, really well, and now I get to spend 5 months of the year in Mexico, and it just is perfect for my career. My typical day is I have coffee with my husband early on the veranda right overlooking the water. And then I come in and I do what most people do. I open my computer and just get to work. There's a lot of virtual meetings, so I'm on video with clients and with people that my colleagues at work, and then a lot of just document stuff. So it's, you know, pretty similar to what I'd be doing if I was in the United States. I'm just happen to be doing it in Mexico with the parrots and with the palm trees. Speaking of parrots, every once in a while a flock will come in, and I'll have to tell the people who I'm on the video with, give me a second while the parrots settle down, and they're always so jealous. Of course they can see my palapa roof in the background, or the ocean, or the palm trees, and everyone's like, no fair, that's awesome. You've like really figured it out. I wish I could do that. But it's not impossible, it's doable. And so if you'd like to learn more, you hit the subscribe button, the bell button, or the all, and you'll learn.
And the all.
And the all. And you'll learn about other people who have figured this out as well. You know, working remotely, it's, you know, you have to figure it out. You have to be intentional, but it's not rocket science, right? You just have to find the right job, and then you just have to ask, and you have to kind of make the argument to your boss as to how it's not going to affect. It might even actually enhance your productivity. But lots of people have figured it out. We run into people all over Mexico who are doing the same thing that we're doing.
So a couple folks who figured out a way to make it happen are Sean and Astrid, and they'll tell you about their YouTube channel. But I'm currently in Puerto Vallarta, and they are just up the road in San Pedro, Pueblo, Pancho. Thank you, Ada. So you will hear from them about what they are doing.
Hola, buenos tardes. I am Sean, this is Astrid, and our channel is Sean in Paradise. I'm actually 45 years old, from New York City, semi-retired, and I'm down here in Mexico, and I've started a YouTube channel, and I'm working on a book.
I'm Astrid. I'm with Sean in Paradise. I'm a clothing designer. We used to live in New York City, and I got laid off at some point, and we had already been married, honeymooned in Sayulita, and then went and bought a piece of land. And at that point we were like, all right, maybe we'll move to Mexico. So I'm a fashion designer in women's clothing, and I've worked for about 20 years in New York City. And since we moved to Mexico, I've been mostly working online for clients in the States. Everything is remote, and COVID helped me with that. Like, remote work became a lot more acceptable. And basically what I'm doing now, I'm still working for companies that make actual clothing, but I've been focusing on 3D programs that do virtual clothing and virtual modeling. And that helps the factories and the companies be more sustainable because we're cutting out a lot of in-between making of producing of samples that then get wasted. So for my clients and the factories that I work with, it's an immense help to visualize everything beforehand. And that's really super interesting. And it kind of then goes into the metaverse and NFTs and virtual avatars and all that kind of thing. And that's super interesting, the whole technology evolution.
So our channel is a little different than some of the other channels. We're not exactly telling you how to go about doing things. It's not like a how-to for moving to anywhere, Puerto Vallarta, Mexico. It's more of a how-we. So it's a very personal channel. It's a bit quirky. We have a lot of cats. I'm a former professional surfer. Astrid's an incredible craftswoman, so it's a bit of a catch-all channel, but it's a lot of fun, no politics, and good smiles, good vibes only. So please like and subscribe if you haven't already.
So be sure to check out their channel, and I will be getting to myself. I'll be a little bit closer to the end of the video, but before we get to me, I want to remind you to click the subscribe button, the little bell icon, and the all word to get notified of future videos. And now let's move on to some other folks who have another YouTube channel. I'll let them introduce themselves.
All right, you want to go first?
Well, I'm Ada.
And I'm Stefan.
And we've got a channel called Living Simply in Mexico, where we chronicle kind of our
experience, right?
Our experience since we have purchased not one,
but two
homes in Puerto Vallarta. So I'm a physical therapist, and also I teach Pilates. So most people are always like, oh, well, you have to be in person to do that, don't you? And what they don't realize is that like 99%, no, I should say 99, maybe 95% of what I do is actually a lot of education, a lot of teaching of people what they need to be doing in their, just to keep themselves healthy. So I've been trying to launch a video channel for years, and unfortunately, or fortunately, for the silver lining of COVID was that I was able to actually really get that launched. So I split my time between being a physical therapist at my studio that I own in the Bay Area, San Francisco Bay Area, and I'm now doing my online channel called BeWellStayWell.net.
Cool. And mine is really simple and really boring. I'm a management consultant, and I travel around and help businesses do stuff. And part of the reason we've been able to...
I don't even know what he does.
Yeah, I do.
FYI, you'll never know.
You'll never know. It's very amorphous. But yeah, I do management consulting work and basically help businesses. And I can do that. A lot of it's been virtual, but I do travel a lot as well. And so that allows us to come down here to Mexico a lot too.
Yeah, well, because I have a brick and mortar back home, and I have clients and patients that still see me. I can't just cut the cord there. Also, we do have a high school age daughter who a lot of people don't even realize that, but we do. She kind of stays in the shadows. But yeah, we have to be aware of that, and she's still finishing up school. So because of that, we're still, and of course because you're still having to be on site for some of your projects.
I think just to summarize here briefly. Our channel, Living Simply in Mexico, is aspirational, and it's really twofold, right? The first aspect of it is when we land in Puerto Vallarta and we come downtown, we actually feel relaxed and we are living simply in the moment. But the aspirational side of it is, at some point, probably farther down the future, we want to be here full time. And what we were thinking is, as we were working very hard and doing all these things, have our daughter, dealing with our parents, dealing with daily life up north, is the ability to be able to really have two lives going at once. Because I don't know if you guys are our age or not, I'm 51, just turned 51. Life is short, and if I can have two paths going at once, still doing work, still doing what I like to do, but also being down here all at the same time, that is absolutely wonderful. And so that's really my philosophy.
It's living, as you like to say, living a parallel life as opposed to a serial life, or living it really linear. So
that doesn't make for a good title for a YouTube channel. So the aspirational living simply, right?
Yeah, and really, and it is. We realize when we come down here, like whenever we go back, it just makes us just even more want to shed the things we have. I look in my closet and I just want to get rid of everything, because down here you can live with, you don't need a lot. I mean, maybe several swimsuits that you can cycle, and that's, you know, maybe one dress shirt, and you're kind of good to go.
So Brighton, this is where we start riffing. You want us to continue on?
Yeah, sorry about that. we kind of go off on some tangents.
We come down approximately monthly, and we do it. It depends. It depends on the month, but you know, like 10 days at a time. We'll try to go from the start of the weekend to the end of the next weekend. And, you know, of course, that's work depending. You know, unfortunately, my work comes first, and so that may change things around. But Ada can come down here for longer, and sometimes you will skip a cycle and stay a bit longer than me.
Well, and people, sometimes we come down with our daughter, and sometimes we don't, depending on her school. So we are still bound to a calendar in that respect, but pretty much, I think we have, for the last couple years, minus the COVID, we'll just call it that. It's pretty much been approximately, yeah, once every 4 to 6 weeks for about 10-ish days at a time. Yeah. Some of the challenges, well, let's talk benefits. Some of the benefits of, you know, being able to, you know, have this dual life is, not really dual life, but the dual experiences, is that you don't feel like you get burnt out. Like I don't. I mean, both of us are, like, I at least am in the mentality that I don't ever want to stop doing what I do in terms of, as a PT, as a Pilates teacher, as someone who's really interested in wellness. It's something that's in me, and I want to keep doing it. But it's how do I do it in a way that is under my terms and, you know, has that flexibility. And so we're already kind of dipping our toe in that. And with that, that's awesome. Now, the challenges are sometimes in terms of, you know, my life is, you know, internet occasionally. So, but we're
a lot. It's all about internet.
Internet is, well, you know, and we're getting around that. We literally just installed a second internet service, so we have dual internet services. That being said, it's still cheaper than our one internet back home.
Yeah.
So, so, you know, doing that, dealing with those power outages, those little flickers that get you, which affect the internet.
Yeah,
you know,
and you know, I think that's the worst thing, you know, is the internet and the power outages. So, for instance, you know, if I'm on a conference call, that's, you know, I gotta have connectivity. So we've got 2 different providers. We've got 2 different mesh systems in the house, and each of those mesh systems are each on independent battery backups. So you know, that's how important it is. So if you're thinking about working from Mexico, it's really important to have that, I would say.
Right.
That's like by far the biggest thing.
Well, and then there's noise.
Noise. I was just going to say that. Yes, the noise.
Because you can't always hide that you're in Mexico. If y'all have ever heard those gas trucks, the jingle is terrible, and it's, you know, and so there are, you know, there are noises that are definitely, there's always construction happening somewhere. It may be in front of our house, like at a really inopportune time, but those are the challenges. And
clearly we don't hide that we're down here. That's a no-no. But you know, having a rooster in a conference call is also, that's not good. And so the good news is, whether on your Microsoft Teams or Zoom or some others, it's really amazing the technology through the pandemic time period here. The technology has been so great where it cuts all that stuff out. One day we had, I had a meeting at 9 o'clock in the morning. 9 o'clock in the morning. And I was on a conference call, I had to speak, and some beautiful woman down the street, it's her birthday, and so her family got her a mariachi band to sing at 9 o'clock in the morning.
For an hour and a half.
For an hour and a half. And somehow I was able to have my conference call, hear the music, and do everything all at the same time.
But that Zoom feature is actually pretty good. Right?
Exactly. I think, you know, over the next few years, you're going to see that, yes, some people definitely have to be in the office. We all need to be in the office at some point, but not all the time. And the question is, what do people do with the rest of the time, and where do they spend it? And so I think from my standpoint, it is a balance, because I do have to be up majority of the time in the United States, but if I can come down here and enjoy life at the same time, it's awesome. I don't know, any thoughts there?
Yeah, I think one of the things that makes for success sort of on multiple fronts is adaptability. And we saw that with COVID, where we had to suddenly adapt what we were doing. And all this is just an extension of that adaptability. How do we create a life that we can adapt so that we can enjoy both things at the same time and not drive ourselves nuts.
Mm-hmm.
And actually we have it. Strangely enough, you would think all of this would be like, oh my gosh, overwhelming, and it's not. It's incredibly like grounding, knowing that we have a place we can go to and a life that we can transition to very easily. Because once again, we know how hectic it is where we live. We know, we look around at our friends and our neighborhood.
Up in Northern California.
Up in Northern California, yep, in the Bay Area. And like I said, it's pretty intense up there. You know, and we barely know our neighbors. We barely know anybody because everybody's high-by. They're working and coming home, doing their thing. And
we know everybody here.
And here you're in a community, and a very diverse community, and a multilingual community, a multicultural community, and with that, it just feels fresh. Like every day feels fresh.
Kudos goes a lot to Ada, and we don't talk about this in our channel and we should actually. So Brighton gets it first. Is kudos to Ada in that she's established our family life in a way that we can, you know, take care of our parents. My mom passed away, but she lived with us for a year and a half. Our daughter that's still in high school, her business that's brick and mortar, and all the stuff that has to happen at home. You know, it takes a village. So, you know, Ada's mom helps us out. We make sure that things we can handle remote wherever we can. But it's in order now, and we can actually have the flexibility to live in multiple places, which has been really cool. The other aspect of it is it's all about a risk too, because hopefully you can edit this out, Brighton, if you don't think it's appropriate. But I'm going to dive deep here, right?
I'll actually say that Stefan has some really good things to say, but you're going to have to wait around for his last final good point till the end of the video. Right now I'm going to tell you about what it is that I do to support myself while living in Mexico. So as Kat mentioned, we spend most of our time in the summers up in Portland and in the winters down in Mexico. So we split our time a little differently than Stefan and Ada. It's kind of like big chunks of time in the different countries, but both of us have jobs that we could really do from anywhere, any amount of time of the year. So I have my own business. I work with coaches, life coaches, executive coaches, folks like that, and help them do video remotely. So I call myself a virtual videographer for coaches. My clients are spread out around the world. This morning I was working with someone in Uganda, and I work on creating testimonial videos or YouTube videos or videos for their websites, and I do that through their webcam or smartphone. So all of this can be done. My clients are spread out across the world. I could do this from anywhere in the world as long as there's good internet. And just like Stefan and Ada, we also have 2 internet connections in our house, and we have a special device called a dual WAN router that ties them together to automatically switch over because it is really important. People do expect you to have good internet even when you're living somewhere else. So I do record those videos from down here in Mexico. I do some of the editing myself, and I also have other editors that are spread out around the world. My team is kind of a little bit in the USA, a little bit in the Philippines, a little bit in Europe. So it's they're all contractors. I don't have any employees on staff, but they all have their own little piece of the pie. And depending on what my clients need, I'll pull on different people to do that work. And of course, I have the YouTube channel. So I have this YouTube channel, and I've got probably 5 or 6 other YouTube channels, some of which do make money. Kind of a newish, maybe a year-old revenue source for me is I make videos for products on Amazon. And this is kind of the beauty of the passive revenue thing. When you watch the 6-second ads before this video, I get a tiny, tiny little like quarter of a penny or something like that. Also, if you're shopping on Amazon and you see one of my videos and buy a product, I'll get some commission from over there. So that's another source of revenue for me. My hope is that this YouTube thing will grow because this is the thing that I enjoy doing most. And if I could make it so that the thing that I enjoy doing most is the thing that's paying my bills kind of as I continue on, that would be ideal. So I'm going to let you go back and hear what Stefan had to say at the end of his part because I think it's a really important message, and I'm going to have some thoughts on that message too.
The way I see it, and this is getting really deep, is that, you know, we're trained to like go to school, get a job, retire, get married, buy a house, blah, 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 retire, and then that's it, right? And the problem is all the good stuff is really backed up way to the end. And some of us, hopefully not many of us, hopefully none of us, won't get there, right? And so it's really important to live life fully in the now as much as you can, because the future is not, granted, you can't take that for granted. And so, the aspect of that is, it's somewhere along the lines, if you're looking to move to Mexico and do something different, you have to take a risk. And the rewards of that, at least what we felt so far, have been really tremendous of coming down here. But if you're waiting until all the ducks are in alignment and you're ready to go, and you've got your big nest egg that never goes down in value, in your portfolio for retirement, and you're waiting for all that to then move, it may never happen. And so the idea is to think what you can do now in order to get yourself ready to come down to Mexico. And then if you want to take a risk, do it sooner rather than later, because it's your life and it's finite.
So I really like that idea of having a plan and then seeing how things can fall into place and taking advantage when opportunities come. So Kat and I we were thinking about moving to Mexico, but when the perfect house came, we just jumped on it. Everyone always gives the advice of rent for a year somewhere before you jump in. Many of the expats that I talk to down here have that same story of like, we just fell in love with it and we did it, and we're so happy that we did. I don't hear very many people who say they weren't happy. Maybe they're out there, maybe they're just no longer around. Sean and Astrid are a good example of how they bought some property down here, and then when she lost her job in New York, they were like, okay, let's build a house on that property now. And Stefan and Ada, they're coming here kind of randomly on long weeks or so throughout the year, but they've purchased 2 houses because the opportunities became available. And I've managed to stay in both of these 2 houses now, and they are both just amazing. They each have the things that are good about them. No one that we've talked to, as I mentioned, feels regrets about making choices to do things. We tend to regret things that we don't do, and we look back and we say, gosh, I just wish I had. And I hear about like people on their deathbed saying, I wish I had X, Y, and Z, and not so much people saying, I wish I hadn't taken a risk or done something like that. So I'd encourage you to take a risk. Book a plane ticket down to Mexico if you're not already here. Look around, see what's out there, see what's available, start to explore, because if you're not exploring and you're not adventuring, then those opportunities just won't hop into your lap. And speaking of explorers, I've got some other folks on the screen right now that have made the leap, that have jumped into life in Mexico. And so you can listen to their stories of how they did it. Hopefully that'll inspire you to give it a try, to start moving the ball in motion. I'll see you in the next video. Hasta luego.